Today, the video game industry spans the globe, generating well over $180 billion annually. This chart shows how that figure compares to traditional media. Video game revenue now easily eclipses the global film and music industries combined. But this financial juggernaut did not originate in a corporate boardroom or through a targeted market analysis. The most lucrative entertainment business in modern history began almost by accident, built as a free technical novelty with zero commercial intent. In October 1958, physicist William Higginbotham was working at Brookhaven National Laboratory, a U.S. government facility. To engage guests during an annual Visitors' Day, he wired an oscilloscope to an analog computer and built a two-player electronic tennis game. The exhibit was dismantled shortly after the event. Higginbotham never patented the work, viewing it as a minor, temporary display rather than an invention to be sold. 4 years later, a group of programmers at MIT wrote a program called Spacewar on a PDP-1, an early mini-computer. The manufacturer used it as a demonstration program, and students shared the code freely. It spread across university computer labs without ever being packaged or sold as a consumer product. These lab experiments trained a generation of software engineers in interactive design. Yet they existed in an entirely academic vacuum, without any infrastructure to manufacture, distribute, or monetize the software. That framework arrived in 1972, when Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney founded Atari. They placed a prototype arcade cabinet for a digital table tennis game called Pong in a Sunnyvale, California tavern. Within days, the tavern owner called Atari to report the machine was broken. A technician discovered the coin mechanism had jammed simply because the collection box was physically overflowing with quarters. The sudden profitability of electronic games attracted immediate legal scrutiny. Magnavox, holding patents for earlier home video game concepts, sued Atari for infringement, initiating decades of corporate litigation over digital properties. By 1978, the arcade market reached an industrial scale. When Taito released Space Invaders in Japan, its extreme popularity led to a localized shortage of 100 yen coins, prompting the government to increase minting. But the arcade business model was constrained by physics. Generating revenue meant building, shipping, and maintaining heavy wooden cabinets, tying the industry's financial ceiling directly to physical manufacturing limits and retail floor space. The solution was to decouple the software from the machine. The Atari 2600, released in 1977, replaced hardwired single-game machines with a standardized console that accepted swappable ROM cartridges. This diagram illustrates the razor and blades business model that followed. Manufacturers sold the base console near cost, relying on the ongoing high-margin sales of software cartridges to drive long-term profit. With scalable software in place, publishers began broadening their audience. Namco designed the 1980 release Pac-Man to appeal outside the traditional male demographic, resulting in immense licensing revenue from animated series and physical merchandise. Shortly after, Nintendo released Donkey Kong, introducing a character named Mario. This marked a deliberate pivot from selling isolated game mechanics to building persistent, highly valuable character franchises. By separating the code from the cabinet and prioritizing recognizable characters, the industry stopped selling temporary physical amusement and started selling globally scalable intellectual property. This rapid scalability soon collapsed on itself. In 1983, the North American market flooded with rushed, low-quality cartridges from unregulated third-party publishers, destroying consumer trust. This graph tracks the financial fallout. Between 1983 and 1985, industry-wide revenue in the United States dropped by roughly 97%, bankrupting major publishers. Nintendo engineered the U.S. launch of the Nintendo Entertainment System in 1985 as a direct response to this retail disaster. They implemented a strict new framework, requiring third-party developers to secure licenses and display an official quality assurance seal. This effectively restricted supply and guaranteed software functionality before a game ever reached the shelf. The collapse and subsequent recovery established a rigid rule for the console market. Long-term commercial survival requires a strictly controlled ecosystem, heavily curated by the hardware manufacturer. Through the 1990s, the stabilized hardware market supported rapid technological advancement. Consumer components became capable of real-time rendering, shifting games from flat two-dimensional planes into fully explorable 3D environments. Navigating an extra axis forced developers to establish new design conventions. Spatial level design and player-driven camera controls became standard mechanics to navigate these complex digital spaces. By the 2000s, broadband infrastructure allowed hardware manufacturers to link these environments together, introducing widespread online multiplayer connectivity. Connecting players over a network altered the core product. Games transitioned from finite single-purchase experiences into persistent social platforms capable of continuous updates and ongoing monetization. Today, the industry operates across a vast hardware spectrum, spanning mobile devices, high-end PCs, traditional consoles, and emerging virtual reality headsets. The trajectory is stark. What originated as a temporary visitor's day exhibit in a 1958 government physics lab now operates as an omnipresent multi-billion-dollar global economy. Video games did not overtake global entertainment solely by improving computing power or graphics. They secured their dominance by continuously reinventing how humans access, interact with, and ultimately pay for digital play.